Welcome back to LimQ Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until the sequel comes out, Tears of the Kingdom, which today is in 162 days, and I will talk about different topics every day while playing. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I wanted to talk about something that you could probably already tell from the thumbnail or the title, which is balance changes in Breath of the Wild and how I would implement them. What changes would I make to make the weapons and systems in this game a little bit more balanced? The reason I want to talk about this is because usually games that I play are competitive games, from League of Legends to Smash, games that receive balance changes when things are out of line or too strong. Now, in Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, it doesn't matter that much, right? It's a single-player game. If something is too strong, yes, of course, people are going to use it, but it's not really going to ruin anyone's day because you lose to a different player that abuses or uses that too strong, overpowered build. But nonetheless, I think some of these changes would make for a better, more balanced experience and maybe encourage different play styles more than right now, especially for people that like to play optimally. I am one of these people. I like min-maxing in video games, so these changes would be appealing to me. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room first, and that is bows. Bows in this game are broken. In every single way, the by far most broken weapon type, and it's not even close, from casual to speedrunning, the DPS power, the range, the safetiness. It's not even close. Like, there is the biggest imaginable gap between bows in this game and any other weapon type. Yes, you can actually do a lot of damage with two-hand weapons with another broken mechanic called double hits, where if you face your back to an enemy when you spin, you actually do 2 hits per rotation. Also, Obosa's Fury is nice, I guess, but it's not even close. Bows are ridiculously broken, and I guess the way the developers tried to balance them, unless they knew that they are just by far the best weapon type, is by having them rely on ammo. You can't use a bow without arrows. So arrows in the game are to an extent scarce, but nowadays at this in age, obviously there's infinite ways to farm arrows, to multiply arrows. Arrows are no longer an issue. And of course the game is not designed around these methods, I see that, but at the same time, I'm gonna ignore that, right? I'm gonna pretend that I'm the head of Breath of the Wild and I get to make balance changes depending on the current game state. And in the current game state, bows are ridiculous. They're by far the best weapon. And this is not even considering glitches. Like, if you consider glitches, oh boy. The new 100% route that I've been doing on stream uses something called the Omega Bow. A bow that does around 2,500 damage per hit using glitches, and that's not even close to the maximum damage you can do. If you use an ancient bow with the right setup and the weapon modifier corruption glitch, you can get around 8,000 damage per shot. However, if you fight enemies that are weak to ancient technology, you can reach up to 14,000 damage with one singular shot. Basically almost one-shotting the final boss of the game twice. Just as a little indicator of how broken bows can be if you use glitches. So I'm not even thinking about glitches. Yes, 14,000 damage. That's the number. That being said, bows are already broken casually and arguably maybe more broken because of how safe they are. All of the other weapons for a casual player obviously kind of threaten you to get hit, where with the bows you already inherently have range and you have the bullet time ability, which allows you to slow down time and get even more damage in safely. So let's start right here. So how would I balance bows? Bows are good, and I guess they're supposed to be good. That's how they were designed. They're supposed to be a strong weapon because they use ammunition. To be fair, other weapons also break, but bows can break too, so I guess they're balanced around ammunition. Again, that's not really an issue anymore. So what I think makes bows too ridiculous on top of having range, which is a good thing. We want a range option. A long range option is nice. It's a cool idea. Appreciate that we have it. And bullet time is a really fun mechanic too. Also nice that it exists. Makes you feel cool. Makes you feel like you're going for cool shots. The biggest problem with making bows skyrocket through the roof is the headshot modifier. Headshot modifier in this game is ×2. So if you headshot an enemy, usually, unless they're specifically resistant to it, which is usually a little small hidden thing in the code, makes it so that you deal double damage to an enemy. Actually, I haven't even talked about ancient arrows and how they're literally able to one-shot enemies such as guardians. Maybe I don't even have to talk about this because everybody knows how broken ancient arrows is. Only being balanced by the fact that against normal enemies they don't drop loot, but guardians do drop loot. So ancient arrows are just broken in that regard too. The reason I came here, by the way, is to get 3 ancient shafts, which I got, and 3 ancient screws, perfect, so I can upgrade my divine beast, my stasis and bombs rune. But to balance both, what I would do is I would remove the headshot modifier completely in terms of damage. Now, it makes sense to me that you get rewarded for performing a headshot, but with bullet time, making it extremely easy to perform a headshot, and then also getting a double damage. Also, you can chain up multiple headshots to get the damage multiple times in a row. That's too broken. You can reach, like, let's run an example. Savage Lionel bow shoots 3 arrows. Attack up version of it, 50 attack. That is 150 damage with a single shot. No weapon in the game, like melee weapon, by default comes even close to this. We have like Lionel Crushers that do a little bit over 100 damage with 1 hit, but you can't combo them with bullet time or anything. So 150 damage, 1 shot of that bow, anywhere. You headshot an enemy, 300 damage. You use attack up power, 450 damage with a single shot. And not only that, you can chain up multiple. It's way too strong. Like, I don't think I need to explain it more. It's just broken. It's not even remotely balanced. And of course, that's why we abuse it in speedruns. But I think you agree with me. Anyway, what I would do is I would remove the headshot modifier completely and say, instead of doing more damage, what a headshot does, it simply just stuns him, which it already does. You already get a stun from a headshot, making it super easy to follow up multiple hits, but they also do double damage, and that's just too much. That makes both Skyrocket, it makes the most broken weapon in the game. Now, that's what I would do. Headshot damage removed, headshot stun stays. So if you headshot an enemy, they get stunned. You can still get free hits, you can still get bullet time, you can still do infinite damage, but maybe with the other balance changes I'm suggesting, there might be more interesting options that require more skill or more risk to get better damage off. So that's my proposed change. Remove the headshot damage multiplier entirely, and only keep the stun that you can do to enemies. Because that stun even works on like bosses. The stun works on like Wind Blight and Fire Blight and the bosses in the game. So that's my suggested change. Now, going over to the next weapon type, which is gonna be two-hand weapons. Two-hand weapons are broken in a way, but I wouldn't necessarily say to nerf them, but to change them. In my opinion, two-hand weapons should be the highest DPS in the game. They are a two-hand huge club, huge sword. They should be able to do the single biggest hit in the game, which they can do in some cases. Like if you use the ancient battle axe and like ancient proficiency and attack power, you can do very big single hits. Again, with glitches, that changes again. But that's not, especially sneak strikes, but sneak strikes work on every weapon. Which, by the way, I feel like this weapon shouldn't even be able to sneak strike because it's way too loud. But let's say every weapon can sneak strike. So what I would change about two-hand weapons is this. The spin attack makes sense in a way, but it's broken. Like I said before, if you face your back to an enemy and move towards it, you get 2 hits every single rotation, breaking two-hand weapons a little bit. Spin attacks, in my opinion, are almost not that thematic for what a huge claymore is, because the hits are so slow, they should be satisfying, big, strong, powerful hits. So what I would do, because the sword already has a spin attack, in a way, right? I would replace the charge attack for the two-hand weapon. And instead of going for the spin attack, I would go for something that the Wind Cleaver has. I don't think I have the Wind Cleaver in my inventory here. But what the Wind Cleaver has is kind of like a charged attack. A charged single attack. And how that could look like this. So level 1, let's use this. Level 1, damage increase by 50%. Level 2, by 75%. Maybe even more. Maybe let's say 50%, 100%, 200%. That is a huge amount of charge time and would definitely balance out play styles a little bit differently. Now maybe bows could be used to initially get a stun off an enemy so that you then have enough time to get a fully charged two-hand weapon in. So for example, again, in reality, you would probably still get more DPS from just spamming bow attacks, so this would have to be balanced a little bit better. But that's the idea behind it, right? That you can maybe like change up your playstyles a little bit. You use the bow headshot to stun an enemy, then you use that downtime to charge a super powerful claymore hit. And I think that could be really cool, especially getting these like super chunky big hits off that you can only really get when you are outplaying the enemy by stunning them or through positioning and dodging. And I really think that's what the two-hand weapon claymores and clubs in the game should be designed around. That's how I would change them. Let's talk about swords. Swords are my favorite weapon type in the game. They feel very versatile. They have different hit combos. The jump attacks are quite satisfying. They are fast. They make you feel like you're mobile. Swords are great, and usually the combat player's favorite weapon to use. So I'm not going to suggest a big change to the swords, other than one. Well, actually, I guess I have two ideas. So the first, I have a big change idea, and a small change idea. The big idea is that swords have a charge attack like this. And it feels really underwhelming because you also can do this. You can actually buffer a charge attack almost instantly if you spin your stick, making it work fluently in your normal weapon combo. You can even cancel it with jumps, which is why a lot of combat players really like this weapon. Instead, my change would be that the charge attack of the sword would be a flurry of attacks. So as long as you hold the button, Link would kind of go like really fast hits, faster than the normal hit combo, like a flurry of attacks, almost like a flurry rush, as long as you're holding the button, and then you can like jump out of it, jump to the side, backflip out of it, or just stop holding the button and react to whatever comes, kind of to use the downtime windows more. Where if an enemy is down, it feels kind of boring to just wail on them with the sword. It would be cool, like that's where the spin attack is much better. So it would be cool to be able to hold the button and get like a faster flurry of attacks in. To change up the playstyle a little bit. One other thing I would do with swords is, because it's already the combat player's choice, it would be really cool, and I think almost everybody thinks this would be a cool thing, if you could choose to ignore the defense, ignore the ability to parry, which is fun and all, but instead to dual wield. Being able to dual wield swords, because they're already the only weapon type, I mean, if we say the only weapon types are sword, spear, and two-hand weapon, then they are already the only weapon type that you can one-hand. So being able to not give up on the shield and the protective option, you can choose to do that, but also being able to go hyper-aggressive, go for two swords, and that way getting the highest DPS, where you play ultra-offensive, you just do bam, 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 multiple hits in a row. That would be extremely cool, and would once again introduce another playstyle. There could be ridiculously cool combos. Imagine having a frost blade and a fire blade. Okay, that would actually be broken. I don't know if you know this, but if you hit a frozen enemy and you unfreeze them, you get like a 3x shatter damage bonus. You could make so many cool combos though, even like shock arrows together. I mean, it would just be a really cool offensive option, and I would love that. That being said, there's one more weapon type to go over, and those are the spears. The spears, in my opinion, are a little bit underwhelming in this game. A lot of people like them because of how fast they attack. Right now, they basically achieve what, in my opinion, the dual sword combo would achieve. And obviously, they have a little bit more range than other options. So you're able to more safely poke with a spear compared to a sword, making it more this sort of like specialist weapon. And that's what I would want to tap into with the spear buff that I have in mind. Because in my opinion, spears are the most underwhelming weapon type, especially now that we have the 60 damage Master Sword from the DLC, the broken double hit spin attack combo from the claymores, and last but not least, the absolutely powerful bow. So the way I would balance spears is I would make some spears even more special, in the sense that some specific spears should get specific abilities. This already exists for swords in the game, right? If you think about the Wind Cleaver, again, you can charge up the Wind Cleaver, it's a samurai sword, and you shoot this blade of wind. So that's already in the game. There's like the spring-loaded hammer with like hidden abilities and stuff, but giving specific spears that are already feeling like the specialist type weapon a specific power Would be really cool. Let me give you some ideas of what I was thinking about here. Again, because spears are already all about having the range advantage, it would be cool that, for example, the elemental spears, which are already glowing with elemental energy, would be able to maybe shoot, for a charge attack, a wave of that element. So you would be able to kind of swing the spear and extend the range even further by shooting a wave of said element, for example, ice, fire, shock, and have the normal elemental properties like you would usually get from arrows. The way that would be balanced is just like it's already balanced. If you use an elemental spear, it has to recharge after some time. Another cool idea, and I'm basically straight up stealing this from the new God of War game, which I guess this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler for God of War Ragnarok about a specific weapon. So if you really don't want to hear any spoilers, I feel like I should at least give you this fair warning. I'm going to talk about a weapon from God of War Ragnarok. Well, I'm not, but I'm going to give you... I'm not actually going to say it, I'm just saying I have the idea from the game. So it would be cool if, for example, the Ancient Spear would be able to be thrown with the throw button, giving you a quick ranged option. But whenever you throw the spear, it materializes again in your hand. So the actual Ancient Spear would be similar to how the shield is. I don't know if you guys know how the Guardian shields or Ancient shields work. They're essentially just this little module, kind of like the Sheikah Slate. And the actual shield part is ancient energy that extends from them. Let's see here, right? Like, this spear... The actual weapon part of the spear is just ancient energy, right? So let's say it would kind of be the other way around, where the entire spear would be made out of ancient energy and only the smallest handle would actually be a materialized thing. And you could throw the spear, kind of like Waterblight Ganon does. You could throw the elemental part of the spear and then get the spear back, giving you like a different option again in combat, making spears more catered towards specialist combat. Not necessarily the strongest, fastest, or best, but giving you options that no other weapons do. And that, I think, is the niche that spears should fit in this game. Thus was my rant about all of the weapons. I feel kind of out of breath, because I think this is a pretty exciting thing to talk about. It will probably never happen, and I'm just, you know, talking shit. But I did want to talk about two other things. And that's actually happening on screen right now. We just got Stasis and Bombs Plus. There is no Magnesis and Cryonis Plus. And even without the Plus, the two runes that have the Plus, Bombs and Stasis, are already much more broken than the other two. I think Cryonis and Magnesis could definitely use a little bit of a buff. I think Magnesis is incredibly weak in the later stages of the game. Only really solving some puzzles for you, where the other two have the real combat prowess. Easy solution. Magnesis Plus, my idea, when you're in this state and you're able to Magnesis different objects and pull them towards you, instead of just having the A button, why not also have the Y button be an option here? And what the Y button here would do is magnetic pulse. What would happen with magnetic pulse? Basically, Link would cast the Magnesis rune all around him and basically push any metal object away from him. If you're doing it in a bunch of metal boxes, the metal boxes would fly around, potentially damaging enemies. If you do it with enemies that have a lot of metal weapons, they would be pushed away, giving you windows to attack. So that's my idea for Magnesis Plus. Cryonis Plus is the most simple one. You can freeze enemies now. But not only like stasis, right? What you can do, what you do with stasis is when you freeze him with stasis, you get to do as many hits as you want until they eventually unfreeze. With Cryonis, it would be specifically to actually apply the freeze effect for them, which for one, you can basically freeze them, run away, and never worry about them again, because it takes a long time for them to unfreeze. Number two, for speedruns, freeze into BTB. Number three, the extra damage, right? The faster damage option than just stasis. You freeze an enemy, boom, you get the triple shatter damage bonus. Maybe it should have a little bit of a longer cooldown than Stasis Plus, because these two would be a little bit too similar. Maybe you could also change Stasis Plus, but that would be an easy way to change the runes a little bit. Last but not least, one thing I have to talk about is one armor set. This armor set actually really bothers me, and that is the Barbarian armor. The Barbarian armor right now, other than maybe the defense stat, gives you the exact same buff than the Phantom armor does. And the Phantom armor is in my opinion, sorry, maybe you like it, most ugly armor in the game. And you can get it much easier. For the Barbarian Armor, you have to clear the 3 big mazes in Hyrule, and then you get it. The Phantom Armor you can just find on the ground. Yes, it's DLC, so it's literally pay to win, I guess, but that shouldn't be the case. And one nice change I'm suggesting to fix the Barbarian Armor would be to... Again, this goes in hand with what I suggested for the 2-hand weapons. Why not decrease the charge time for my new suggested 2-hand charge attack? Where you charge this big single hit with the Barbarian Armor, you still get the attack buff, but you also decrease your charge time for the big 2-hand big boy weapons, which in my opinion the Barbarian set visually is already all about. So that could be a cool way to spice things up and make the Barbarian Armor at least feel a little bit better than the Phantom Armor, because right now they're literally the same. Of course, one looks cooler, but they give the exact same effect, and that's just sad. Also, this is also sad, me falling down. I was about to grab this Korok and wrap up today's recording. Me talking about Breath of the Wild weapon damage and balance changes that I would make to improve the game's combat. Let me know if you agree, if you have any other ideas, if you disagree and you think those ideas are awful. I appreciate you as always chilling in the 100% journey with me. Didn't get much gameplay done today because I was very passionate about this topic, but tomorrow we will, that's actually my goal, tomorrow we will reach 16%. We're getting close to only 160 days to Tears of the Kingdom. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.